Hello everyone, this is your test review for SOCI 3334, Religion and Society. This is test 1. A few words about the test. Please open the test up and the test materials between March 19 at 12:01 a.m. and take the test sometime between the March 19 and March 25th, and the test will go offline at 11:59 p.m. So what I would do is don't wait till the last minute. Please allow yourself. The test is timed. You will have 70 minutes to complete the test. There are 50 multiple choice and true-false questions. Please take the test in Mozilla Firefox. Do not try to attempt it in Microsoft Explorer or Chrome. You should hopefully have watched this video and will have allowed yourself enough time to ask me questions. But I'm not the IT help desk. I can't speak to your local computer's capacity to open a test or not, but you need to know that you need to have Mozilla Firefox on your test on your laptop as a way to access the internet. It is the only way that the desire to learn platform opens effectively and without any real problems. Okay. And the test will appear on March 19 and will go again offline on March 25. Today, what we're working on is a test review. Okay. It's recommended that you save your responses as you complete each question. So basically, what I've done is I've taken material from our modules and from essentially the first 7 chapters in Religion and Society. Okay. A lot of this has to do with your reading the text. This is an open book and open source text, which means you can have your book there, at the ready, should you desire. That said, the tactic that is strongly recommended for taking this test or any test in any upper level class is that you read with a notebook at hand. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to hit a few of the high points and how I've worded the questions accordingly, that should get you to where you need to go. Again, there are 50 multiple choice and true-false questions, and they're testing essentially your knowledge of what we've discussed, what's been discussed or presented in the readings and on your data analysis exercises on the website. Okay, please be able to define the focus of the sociology of religion. This is from the first chapter. You have to allow yourself enough time to access the links for the Pew Trust on religious life in America, because there are going to be some analytical questions, a couple of them. So that's going to be a couple of sorts of questions. Okay. Basically, you're going to have to define religion in the way that it is defined in the text. We talked, there are a couple of theorists discussed in this text, Emil Durkheim and Karl Marx, okay? And they're discussed very early on. Please be aware of Emil Durkheim's contribution in his look at how religion serves the purpose of what's called social integration, essentially social cohesion, social harmony, whatever you want to call it. The sociological term is social integration. Okay. there are, when you look, when you move ahead, we're talking about the sources of religion. Basically we're talking about sociological views here in the second chapter. We don't focus much on that. There are also some methodological questions that are asked that we had discussed in a couple of discussion posts. So be aware of how sociologists study religion. How they study religion. Okay, for example, if I'm going to ask how people participate in religion in general, I'm not going to ask about their belief in God. I'm not here to debate your particular belief, but you cannot generalize your belief to everyone. Not every religion has an idea of a supreme being or God there. That was something that was sort of lost in some of the responses that I read. Again, we're talking about how religion functions in society. We're not having an argument or an assessment of values. It's perfectly okay for you to believe or not believe what you wish. But if I'm looking at measuring religion, for example, a worldwide survey of religion, I'm going to look at the most generic response possible. Not all religions read the Bible or believe in God. Okay? There are world religions that don't. Major ones that have millions of people participating in them. Hindus, Buddhists. So be aware of that, the kind of generic nature of that. Know also that a sect is different than a church, and that a sect is basically socially isolated, whereas a church is socially integrated. Okay, so and I ask you some questions questions which will demonstrate your ability to apply these concepts. How when we talk about religion, we talk about religion as a group phenomenon in chapter 3. How does what are the requisites? What are the 5 functional prerequisites of group life? Producing satisfactory levels of goods and services. Most of you did a pretty good job of that on your responses in your discussion. Socialization. Socialization is how people either people who join the group or people who are born in a group. Socialization speaks to how they internalize for themselves the norms, values, beliefs, and practical knowledge that's necessary for participation in a religious group. We discuss in chapter 3, and you need to review starting on about page 43, on through religious leadership, going through 51, the process of the bureaucratization of religion, how religious leadership emerges, and how some of the characteristics of religious leadership in organizations as well. Okay. Know the effect of group size as an independent variable, and how that changes, the characteristics and internal processes of a religious organization as a group. In chapter 4, we explore one of the earlier 5 functions that are discussed in chapter 3, socialization, in great detail. We talk about religious socialization, formal and informal methods, measuring the impact of religious socialization, both for people who are born into a religious tradition and for people who convert to a religious tradition. The degree of strength of religious affiliation. And then we look at the individual approach. How do we measure how an individual participates in this element of social structure or religious group? We maybe look at ritual participation. Ritual participation is a term that comes from both cultural anthropology and the sociology of religion, which assesses the degree of formal participation, ritual participation. How often do you go to church? How often do you attend Bible study? How often do you, and so forth. Those are ways we can measure empirically sort of individual participation, right? So basically, we talk about the process of the internalization of religion, either growing up religious or gaining religious identity. As a part of the process of being socialized by your family, maybe a participant in a religion, or by conversion. Okay, note in that chapter, in the chapter Becoming Religious, they talk about some of the variables that predict religious conversion. Age. Age is a key, and then there's stages of religious conversion. Also note the processes associated with deconversion, or the disassociation from a group. And we discuss a couple of processes there, in terms of disassociation or